So it's been an awesome summer so far here in New Zealand, and while most people are out riding their bikes, I have stupidly decided to pull mine apart. Now, don't ask me why. We're having the best weather I can ever remember in a January, and I've decided to go and do this. Well, I've had my bike for 2 years now, and it's actually been very low maintenance. I haven't had to do much apart from the usual brakes, bleed, new tyres, little bits and pieces, but I haven't really gone and done a full service on it yet. So plans are to remove the shock and get that serviced. I'm getting that sent away to get serviced. I'll do the fork service myself. That should be fun and interesting. The whole drivetrain will be dismantled and cleaned, seat post cleaned, new bottom bracket, and just a general clean and tidy up all over. And to top it all off, I'm right in the middle of packing up my house and moving, which is obviously not the ideal time to do stuff on your bike when all your tools are going to be packed up as well. So this should be a lot of fun. So for now, let's go and pull the rest of this thing apart and get it all cleaned up. I'm going to dismantle it. Now, I've just discovered that it's easier to take off your chainring so you can get access to the bottom mount of your shock. Yeah, nice one, Adrian. Well done. Now, for all you bike nerds and bike mechanics out there, please don't give me any shit for this, because this is the first time I've actually pulled a bike apart, but I really enjoy pulling stuff apart and seeing if it'll go back together again. If it doesn't work out, I'll just load all the bits up into the car and take it to someone who actually knows what the hell they're doing. And there we go. One shock. So there we go, there's the Fox Float DPS shock removed from the Trance. Now, it's looking pretty tidy, just needs a bit of a clean, and obviously a real good service, some more oil, and the seals are going to be replaced as well. I've had a little bit of a check of the bearings and they feel a touch gritty, so I'm thinking the bearings are going to have to come out as well and completely strip down the frames and give them a clean. So now we're going to take off the pedals and then the crank arms and then pop out the bottom bracket. Quite a bit of muck and dirt around that. Now be very careful you don't lose that little shim that's in there. Now this crank spindle, hopefully that's what it's called, this is going to need to be knocked out with a mallet, and a special tool you can purchase, or you can make shit up as you go along like I am about to do. That's all I got time for tonight. Tomorrow hopefully I will get to get that shock in for servicing, and I will be able to remove the bottom bracket and give that a good clean up. So welcome to my new house. This is a little studio that we have out the back of the house. Hey, we have taken a little bit longer to get working on the bike again since we moved. A few more jobs around the house than I expected. But now I have some spare time. Well, I don't have any spare time left anymore, come on, let's face it. Today's task is to remove the rear triangle off the back and pop out those old bearings and replace them with the new ones. So this is not a how-to video on maintenance of your bike. There's plenty of those out there on the web. This is more of a, can I do it myself? Do I have to take a bike in pieces back to a workshop and get someone who knows what they're doing to do the repairs? I'm pretty confident I can do this, and hopefully that gives you the confidence that you can do it as well. Now, if you are a bike mechanic, please look away now, because you're going to cringe. You're going to pop some comments down below that says, what the hell are you doing, Adrian? You know what? Yeah, this is how it is. Just suck it up. Let's go and get that rear triangle off and give it a clean and pop out those bearings. So you're now on chest cam as well. It's not stabilised, but it's good enough to give you an idea of what I'm doing. So we have 1, 2, 3 different sized Allen keys required. So just taking the brake caliper off here, and obviously we're going to have to take the derailleur off. Needs to come out. So we've got this bolt out, and we need to remove that bolt now. Okay, washers out and cable out the way. God, what have I done? So I can't believe I've done it, but I pulled my bike to bits. Not going anywhere in a hurry now. Shit, I hope I've done this right. So now I just want to take the rocker off and replace those bearings as well. And remembering there's washers inside of there, which is going to be fun putting them back in and reinstalling. So I have a socket which is larger than the bearing that's coming out. I have a threaded rod with a nut on the end. Pop that on there. I have another socket which is just big enough to fit on the inside and catch the other side of the bearing. It's a very fiddly process, but it's cheaper than a bearing press. If you can use a bearing press, then by all means go for it. Obviously you're not going to be reusing these bearings, so it doesn't matter if they are slightly damaged. If you're taking them out to repack the bearings, then I would suggest to use the proper bearing press. And there we go. No damage to the paintwork. It's all out. You will usually chip some bit of the paintwork around the edge of the recess where the bearing has gone in. That is natural. So here we have the composite rocker from the giant Trance, and I'm going to remove these bearings. And I really want to be careful because there's no way I want to crack this and have to buy a new one. What I first started this process, I thought I would have to admit defeat and take the bits into a bike shop, but it seems to be working out fine so far. But I may have just cursed myself. There you go, don't know whether you guys can see that. There's quite a lot of shit and gunk and dirt in there, which, despite it being so tight, still managed to work its way in and sit in there for quite a while. So once I've got all the bearings out, I'll give this a damn good wash, get all the crap out of there, and then move on to installing the bearings. Okay, removing now the largest of the bearings in the bottom of the suspension pivots. So I've come across a predicament where the bearing won't actually pop out because my socket internal diameter is smaller than the actual bearing itself. So I'm going to have to put my thinking cap on, and I have decided that to push the bearings out from the inside out. Now I'm just thinking on my feet here, I haven't tried this yet, so bear with me. Okay, we've finally got that sorted, and we're slowly pressing that bearing out. Right, so we've got the bearings out of the rocker and the link and the back end of the bike. Just got these bearings here to remove, which is the same method as I've used previously. So once that's done, I'm going to give the bike a good clean and then get started on putting the new bearings in, which will be interesting. So I didn't expect the process to take this long. A few domestic chores and work commitments have taken over, but I've now got a weekend ahead of me where I'm going to dedicate it to getting this thing back on the trails. I really need to get back out riding. It's been almost a month since I've actually ridden this bike, and I'm just missing it so much. So I'm going to have my coffee and get stuck into it.
Right, so I've got all my parts cleaned before I put the bearings in. I've got my bearing list here with the bearings in the right positions and the torque settings needed for them. So what I'm going to do now is give myself a bit of space, get the grease ready, and start putting them in.
Going to make sure it's all lined up because you don't want it to be going in on an angle, and this is where the bearing press is actually the best for the job. Looks reasonably straight to me. So the setup is a little bit different to what I had before. I've been trying with a few methods to try and get this lined up properly and make it a bit easier. Getting it lined up is the most important thing, and then once you've got it lined up, it'll seat itself in there. Now that looks to be seated in there quite nicely around the edges. I don't think I've messed up the bearing at all, and I'm pretty happy about that.
So I've only put one set of bearings in, and already it's testing my patience. There may be a few tools thrown across the room shortly, but I just have to persevere. And persevere rhymes with beer, and I think I'm going to need one shortly. So I'm going to start assembling the rear end of the bike, getting the suspension all put back in. First up, we're going to put the rocker on, and then we're going to move into the back end.
So the centre point of the rocker has a couple of washers that have to go on the inside. Make sure you've greased it up first. So with all your suspension pivot bolts, should use a little bit of Loctite, and we're using the recommended Loctite 243. I'm going to tighten it up to 11 Newton meters using using our torque wrench. Okay. So I actually figured I had the wrong bolt in here, which was a bit of a dumb thing to do. Clean off any excess grease that's on the thread before we put our Loctite on. So next I'm going to put on the rear shock, and I've had this serviced. I didn't do it myself. I thought that might have been just a bit too much. It would have taken too much time and I would have sworn too much at it. So I took it to Lewis & Co in Ponsonby in Auckland, and their Hope helped. So I took it to Lewis & Co in Ponsonby in Auckland, and Hope, the mechanic there, she put it right through the books for me. Stop. So it's time to put on the rear shock, and I've had that serviced, and no, I didn't do it myself. I think that might have been a bit too complicated, and I might have sworn a bit too much. So I took it to Lewis & Co bike shop in Ponsonby here in Auckland, and Hope, their mechanic, she put it through really quickly and got it to me almost a day later, which I was very thankful for. It didn't matter because it's taken me this bloody long to get it on the bike. So, but anyway, the service at Lewis & Co is fantastic. Proving to be a little bit tricky. Again, everything about this job has been tricky.